So 16 is the box, 15 is start, and 7 is start. Over 4 runners, there are 2 400, so our second round.
Du bist Boss? Ja.
The final order for the second round is Skeleton-Weltcupfinale,
Minute 59,94.
Down. So the sun shield for 6, 12.
Of the regular season, Lillehammer in Norway, second heat of the 8th and final Monobob World Cup of the season. We are fast approaching, well, maybe not the end of winter, but the end of the regular season in our ice sliding. And here in Lillehammer, we will see the end of the road for the women's monobob and women's bobsleigh, for 2-man and 4-man bobsleigh as well, before we head off to Lake Placid at the end of the month for the World Championships. So 17 sleds from our 12 nations are ready to go again, and as ever they will go in reverse order of their first heat performance, and that means that our leader, last week's joint winner Brianna Walker, will go last. Before her, well, 1500ths of a second cover the top 3. Lisa Buchwitz looking for World Cup win number 4 of the season to get her record back up to a 50% win rate for the year. She looks locked in to the crystal globe. But is she? In joint second place in the points, Brianna Walker and Lara Nolter. Cynthia Appiah, though, is second place in today's race, and that could move her up significantly from 11th in the World Cup rankings. She is also hunting her first ever monobob win. Is today the day? But our first heat leader, as the winner last week with Keisha Love, coming in here full of confidence, Brianna Walker. She leads by just 900ths of a second. There were a couple of errors in her first heat. Both she and Appiah set new track records, though, and she might need to do the same again. And look at these conditions. It's absolutely fabulous here, with a bright, clear, crisp, sunny day. Cold overnight low means the track is absolutely in perfect condition. On the far side of the valley, on the sunny side, they're out busy skiing. And on the northern slope of this valley, we are ready to get our race underway. So as ever, the 16-corner Lillehammer track will be a tricky one. The 1994 Winter Olympic venue isn't the longest in the business, but there's lots going on. Relatively short start, drops away quite quickly. Get in, get down, hands on the D-rings before you get to corner 1, and then down through the 2 right-handers, 2 and 3. And then 4, 5. Compulsory tap on the left-hand side, straightens you up for corner 5, into corner 6, shaped like the Greek figure omega, so more than 180 degrees, and then into the labyrinth. 7, you hold the pressure long in 7, through 8, corner 9, and then down to 10, 11, 12. So from 10 to 11 and even quicker into 12. and then little short straight down into 13. You want to try and come onto 13 on the right-hand side to get a straight run down to 14, and then 15, double pressure corner into 16, and their line is just there. So Bree Walker with a brand new track record this morning, 54.01. It was a 54.12 as they arrived at the track this morning from the race not a week ago, but in 2024. That track record held by Keisha Love, with whom Bree shared gold last week. And now Keisha back home, getting ready for the World Championships in Lake Placid. The entire US team has headed back. Skeleton finished up their World Cup last week here, so they too have had plenty of opportunity for extra practice at Lake Placid. Just saw Cynthia Appiah and there Mel Hasler. Melly in 5th place, just 600ths off 4th, but there is quite a gap to the top 3. But from 6th position, Melissa Lottholtz down to Adele Nicol in 13th place. There are just 2100ths of a second, so a very tight midfield pack as ever. And all 17 sleds made it down without major dramas in the first heat. They will go again in the second. Great to come back to Lillehammer for the second time in the 21st century. In fact, pretty much. It's a beautiful venue. The track is fast, demanding, and the organisers here are absolutely knocking it out of the park. And we will return for the World Championships 2027. So the end of next year, of course, no Worlds, because it's that other thing that happens every 4 years. The, what's it called? Oh, yes, Winter Olympic Games in Milano Cortina. And then the first World Championships of the next quad will be here. And that is going to be something very special. I think they really put on a great show here. Well, after our first heat, Brianna Walker leading, as we said, by 900ths in Lisa Buchwitz in 3rd, behind Cynthia Appiah by another 600ths. But they're really the medal challengers, and then from 6th place down to Adele Nicol in 13th, that is the big midfield punching battle, basically. Anybody who gets a good run can easily pick up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions maybe, and if you make one mistake, you can easily tumble back down as well. So real midfield game of snakes and ladders. Our start order then will have our 17 athletes in the reverse of their first heat performance. So we go last to fast. Victoria Chinanska 17th after the first heat. She will be off first, followed by Sarah Blizzard and Simi Adiagbo, and so on down until we get to Brianna Walker, defending her slender first heat lead and looking for her 3rd career gold, her 2nd here in Lillehammer. So her 2 wins so far have come on tracks beginning with L, Lake Placid, end of last season, Lillehammer, end of last week.
10 seconds.
Ready to get the final heat of the regular season of the IBSF Monobob World Cup underway. Sandra Kyriasis at the front, helping with the sled for Victoria Chinanska. Lucia Makrosova, her brakewoman, also helping out. Victoria Chinanska, the 2020 Youth Olympic silver medalist, finished 21st here last week. First push was a 5:69, 5:89, 6:06 rather, 6:03 in the second heat. Ooh, long skid, not helping at all. 2 to 3. That's most unusual. Clearly finding that the fresh spritz on the track between the runs has made it even faster and harder to control the sled. sure with the cold conditions, everybody will have gone for minimum contact patch that they can get away with, the fattest runners that they've got. That does make the sled a little tricky once it gets out of shape. On 22.2 down at the bottom, and a 55.53 run. Well, not as encouraging as Victoria Chinanska would have hoped for, a 55.24 in the first heat. And that was quite a lot more random early on. That 2-3 combination, getting that skid in early on, really not helping at all. She was just late on 2 and late on 3 and skidding down to corner 4. And then out of 13, gets the tap that everybody gets. And yeah, backing into 14, actually didn't come onto it too badly there. So Victoria Chinanska first down. Track team absolutely thrilled to see the record going in the first heat. So, and they will go again in the break before the 2-man. They are determined to see if they can get track records in the 2-man as well. Sarah Blizzard of Australia, tied with Simi Adiagbo for 15th place after the first heat. Simi was out second in the first heat and Sarah was out last, so she tied the time, and that means she gets to go first. That means slightly fresher ice, from 2100s to 3/10 up. Ooh, a little late maybe in 7. No, she held it well down through the labyrinth, 3500s up. She was only a 10th up on Chinanska in the first heat, 4/10. It's a good-looking drive from Sarah Blizzard. Nice out of 13. Excellent stuff, nearly half a second up, 1:23.4, 76.6 miles an hour, 55.11. She came down 55.14 in the first heat. And Van Nieuwenhuysen in the pink and grey jacket is her brakewoman, Ashley Werner. When I say Werner, I probably don't mean Werner, do I? Probably mean Werner. So 5:92 starts compared to 5:89 in the first heat. And another neat and tidy run from Sarah Blizzard. So throws down the challenge to Nigeria's Simi Adiagbo. Both at a relatively similar position in their driving careers, actually. Although where Sarah came from being a brakewoman, Simi came from racing skeleton. Again, hands knee width apart. You can place the steering ropes wherever you like. So for Nigeria then, Simi Adiagbo. Sandra Kiriasis, the coach. I wonder how many times Sandra raced here. Don't have those kind of old stats. So Simi in the first heat, the 43-year-old started 5:86. And a 5:92, so exactly the same time as we've just seen from Sarah Blizzard. And that means they are still tied. Little tap 4-5, 500ths of a second in it. Sarah in her 8th World Cup start in mono, Simi in her 4th. 800ths is the difference, but better speed than Sarah Blizzard. Out of 13, oh, and it's all going away from there. Now, if she'd kept that relatively straight, maybe just taken a little tap, she might have been able to close the margin. Oh, and pinballs out of the final corner as well, 55.27. Oh, so Sarah picks off 1, but because they were tied for 15th, Simi drops behind her. That means that Sarah is still effectively 15th, or will be no worse than 15th, but critically, at least, she held on there, and Simi slips a spot. But that is her best World Cup result. She'll be no worse than 16th, and she's had 23rd place finishes in all 3 of her previous World Cup outings. So there's some symmetry there, heading down 12 into 13, coming in offline from 12, and then 13, 14, long skid into 14. Always has such a big smile on her face. So 3 sleds down, 14 to go. Yingqing of China is kind of a little bit in no man's land. She's significantly ahead of the tie behind her, and she's 1700s behind the sled in front of her. So 2600s in hand over Sarah Blizzard, and starts 581, so 1100s quicker than the Aussie, who is our current leader. So the gap is out to nearly 0.4 of a second as she sits down. Relatively smooth up to 4. The standard little tap into on the run to 5. Nicely into the labyrinth. Good looking run. 3700s up at the start. Not adding much to it, but slightly better speed than Sarah Blizzard. 71.9 miles an hour, controlled from 13 to 14, and that'll give her a good run to the line. And this will see Yingqing take the lead away from the Aussie. 54.91. So 54.88 in her first heat. Not quite as quick, just 300s slower. Instant debrief from her coach. Not too bad. Makes it a 13. Wasn't too great, but everything else was okay. So here's exit 13, just driving off a little late. Releases the steer, maybe a fraction early. Didn't get a huge skid, but she did come slightly offline into 14. And then 15 again. See how far back she's sitting. And those hands close together. There you see, pulling on the left hand's D-ring, makes the sled steer to the left, pulling on the right, makes it steer to the right. It's really straightforward. 13th place, and at the tail of the long snake up to 6 now. Does she get a snake or a ladder? Adele Nicol digs in. 584 first start. 583 is the getaway. So she'll be looking in the off-season really to heal up her sore foot and get that speed back. A little bit of explosive shot putting during the summer will probably help with that. You think, you know, what can throwing a shot or throwing a javelin have to do with pushing a bobsleigh? It's all about that explosive power. That's why jumpers are very frequently good pushers as well. 2800s up, increasing her margin over Yingqing all the way. This is probably not about trying to get ahead of the Chinese athlete, but seeing how far up the order a good second run can get her. It's a nice looking drive as well from Adele Nicol of Great Britain. 54.64, so that is quicker than her first heat. 700ths of a second faster. We're not seeing quantum leaps, but that actually would have left her in 10th place, not 13th after the first heat. Just that 700s. The well done Adele was from Ian Richardson there from the BBSA down at the finish line. Taking one for the team and spending a couple of weeks here in Lillehammer. It was a nice looking run. It's a kind of controlled, but not too controlled. You don't want to be hitting everything on the way down. That doesn't always work. Yeah, quite a widespread steering grip she's got. Hands probably outside the knees. Adele Nicol, the leader, after the first 5 sleds. So now we're in the thick of it. Snakes and ladders time. If you don't know what snakes and ladders is, ask my 5-year-old grandson, he'll tell you. So 68 hundredths from the lead, 2 hundredths ahead of Adele Nicol, Kelly van Petegem. Now Kelly was first out and Adele 14th out. Was the track any different? Didn't really seem to be that much different. Let's see what Kelly can produce. 2 hundredths of a second in it, so effectively most of these battles are realistically dead heats, aren't they? 584. I mean, we talk about 2 hundredths of a second as if it's a significant margin over a 1,300-meter bobsleigh race. Can you imagine in a, you know, at 800 meters what 2 hundredths of a second would be like between 2 runners? That's how close this sport is. I mean, 2 hundredths is quick over 100 meters, never mind 800, 1,300, 1,500. Tied for the lead. This is going to be very close indeed. A whisker shy of Adele Nicol's speed. Not bad out of 13. Wrong side coming into 14. 300s in it still. Still a whisker back on the speed. 400s at the line. 54.70. So 2 runs down for Kelly van Petegem. 2,750 meters and 100th of a second variance between those 2 runs. Well, there's her training partner going over to give her a hug now. Is that a significant... Did she need a top 12 finish to get another World Championship qualifying spot or Olympic qualifying spot? There's all of that going on at the moment, and various different nations have various different demands. Kelly looking disappointed with that. I think that had significance. It doesn't mean she's not going to be top 12, because some of the other sleds might drop back a little further. In the blue jacket there, Snorre Pedersen, part of the track management team here, and a former skeleton ace. Erica Vos, 500s ahead of Adele Nicol, and again 500ths of a second over 1,300 meters. We're talking as near a dead heat as you can spot. Less than the time it takes to blink the human eye. Little tap 4 to 5 comes nicely onto 5. 6 is one of the key corners on this track. The exit of 6 defines your labyrinth. Looks good. 100th back, but the lowest speed since Victoria Chernanska, and that's not good. 900s back, the gap is growing. Don't forget Kelly van Petegem, 400s back at the line. So although she lost her spot to Adele Nicol, she's going to gain 1, because Erica Vos is going to slip a couple here. 3,300s back in the end. It was quite a significant margin at the bottom of the track, but only her 2nd ever World Cup start in the front seat. None of the others she's done has she been able to see where she was going. So Adele Nicol moves up a spot, Kelly van Petegem moves up a spot as well. But Erica Vos will be no worse than 13th, and that will be her World Cup best ever result after 20th last week. Held it a little low maybe in 13 and came in just a fraction too far on the right hand side, and maybe working a bit too much in 13, holding that sled down, taking some speed away in 15. Again, she sits sort of towards the front, more upright. Lots of the other drivers getting as far back and as laid back as they can to get the weight back in the sled. 10 to go in the season. Adele Nicol leads from Kelly van Petegem and Erica Vos. So World Championships coming up in Lake Placid, and that will be in just over 2 weeks' time. Lots of athletes there already. There is your leader, Adele Nicol, and she'll be looking forward to not having to run quite as often on her foot and give it a little bit more time of R&R. There's the Aussies. Well, Victoria Jananska's break woman as well. So at the moment, Adele Nicol, Kelly van Petegem, Erica Vos, the top three. And Sarah Blizzard, what will she be? No worse than 15th. And her previous best results is a 17th. So that is a career best for Sarah Blizzard this year. Her debut in the World Cup, full World Cup season of 8 races. And that is the best of the lot.
1 minute.
1 minute to go. You hear from Snorre Pedersen. Peter Fisher at the back in the black jacket of the IBSF. He is the president of the jury, and the athletes down at the bottom. Break women from Austria, Switzerland and Australia, obviously bitter rivals. Not living the dream at all. Well, they will, all three, I guess, be in action. I haven't seen the women's start list for tomorrow, but...
Auf geht's, Big Pushkin!
Well, some words of wisdom from Nella Scooten of Germany. Her colleagues looking round and going, what was that then? So for Kim Kilicki, 10 to go. 8th race of the IBSF Monobob World Cup, the final World Cup race of the season. Kim Kilicki, 9th fastest starter, 10th at the bottom. It wasn't the tidiest run from Kim. No, she's not the fastest starter, but she is a good driver, but she just doesn't quite seem to get the best out of these sleds. 5.77 getaway, so 100th of a second quicker than Erica Vos, and that drops her to 13 hundredths ahead of Adele Nicol, who started 5.83. So adding 6 hundredths of a second at the start to her first heat advantage, but only the third best speed. The gap's down to 14 hundredths already. My rights, a driver with the experience and the ability of Kim Kilicki should be holding her advantage. She's not. 6th best speed out of 13, long skid down to 14, 300s back. Adele Nicol, the fastest sled down the track apart from in the start area, and she drops 2 spots, 54.85. So you saw René Spies, and wrapped up there at the bottom is Kim's brakewoman, Leonie Fiebig. So Kelly van Petegem moves up another spot as Kilicki slips down to 3rd. Adele Nicol will be no worse than 10th. Kelly van Petegem no worse than 11th. And this tight group might yet change some more. So if Kelly needed a top 12, she's got it. If she needed a top 10, it might be on its way. You can never tell. This is very, very tight. As you see from a drive with the experience, even of Kim Kilicki. If it was easy, I'd be doing it. I mean, that's my go-to, and it is definitely not easy. Next up, Margot Bock, 400ths quicker than Kim Kilicki, and 11 hundredths, I beg your pardon, ahead of Adele Nicol from the first heat. Now, she starts similar to Adele, 5.83 in the first heat. Adele started 5.84, 5.83, 5.81, so adding a couple of hundredths to her advantage, 15 hundredths up. Now we've seen Kim Kilicki slip from a bigger advantage. squarish tap 4 to 5, but Margot Bock adding a little bit now to her advantage, but the speed is not quite what it was for Adele Nicol. Gap's coming down, 12/100ths of a second now. 5/100ths of a second, Adele Nicol still the fastest, and Margot Bock not finding the speed at all. She's going to go back, she'll drop 2 behind Kelly van Pettingham as well. Kelly is 400ths back at the line. Kim Killicky 1400ths back, she's between the two of them, so she's in third, 54.84. So Margot slips a couple as well. With 8 to go, she's in third, so she'll be no worse than 11th. And that is her second best result of the season. Not quite as tidy maybe as her first heat. .2600 slower, so she'll be disappointed with that. But is there speed still to be found in the track? We're going to find out. Katie Bile, 8th place after the first heat. Came down in 54.56, 15/100ths of a second ahead of Adele Nicol. And she'll probably start about a 10th quicker as well, did in the first heat. So that'll give her a 1/4 of a second advantage. Let's see if she can hang on to that as well. There you go, 5.73. So a 10th faster at the start than Adele Nicol. Smooth run down to 4. 4-5 tap, everybody takes. 3700ths up, so she's added another 1200ths. Of course, that faster start helps to build the advantage quicker. Now, the gap is dropping a little. How much speed can she hold on board? A little late in the labyrinth. Third best speed, not as quick as Adele Nicol, but not as slow as the last few sleds we've seen. Gap's coming down towards her first heat, but now she's got better speed. This is the end of the leader's box for Adele Nicol, 54.47, and that is a 900th of a second improvement on her second heat for Katie Bile. So Adele Nicol moving up from 13th place to be no worse than 9th, as Katie Bile takes the lead with 7 to go. So for Adele, her first top 10 finish of the season, and her World Cup best equaling run. Her best ever, her second World Cup race in Innsbruck last year. Adele was 9th. She'll be 9th again, and Katie Bile has the lead, and this will be her best result of the season as well. She's had 3 9th place finishes, Katie Bile, and she will be no worse than 8th. And there are still 2 sleds very close in front of her. That's a better second heat, Katie. She was disappointed with the first. Let's see now. That puts a little bit of pressure on the next 2 sleds, particularly Andrea Grecu, just 300ths faster in the first heat. Again, absolutely nothing in it. Started the same as Katie in the first heat, both 5.74s. Katie's dropped it to a 5.73, she gets a 5.71, so she adds another 200ths to that 300ths, 500ths up with a fractional better speed as well. No, she doesn't. In fact, Bile had better exit velocity, and as a result, the lead is gone. Now, don't forget, Katie Bile 3,200ths ahead of Adele Nicol. So Andrea Grecu might slip 1, probably won't slip 2. Speed is good. A 10th back, only the 4th best speed. Adele Nicol still the fastest until the final speed trap. It's not a bad-looking run. She should still be in second place, but only the 7th best speed across the line. Yeah, hangs on. So Katy Bile in the leaders box still. 11th place here last season, Katy Bile. 13th place last week. She will be no worse than 7th. Her best run of the season, or her best race of the season, and Andrea disappointed with that. She'll slip out to 8th place. Bronze in Altenburg, 5th in Sigulda, 6th in Winterberg, 7th in Innsbruck. And then Samoritz hit the skids 22nd, 16th, our second time in Samoritz, our second race. 12th last time out here in Lillehammer. And she has improved, so she will be no worse than 8th. But she was definitely looking for a top 6 finish to round out the World Cup that had started so promisingly for Andrea Grecu. Well, she might still benefit, because Melissa Lottholz is next up, and she was only 300ths ahead, and of Andrea Grecu only 600ths ahead of our current leader, Katy Bile. Great leg turnover this woman has. 5.70, another whisker quicker, so she adds 300ths to her advantage. Sits down with 900ths over Bile. Bile is a more experienced driver. 100th of a second in it. Katy Bile still with good speed at the start. 5th best speed for Melissa Lottholz. Into the labyrinth. A little late flop. Out of 10 and 11, 800ths back. Only the 4th best speed. Not as quick as Katy Bile. Long skid. She's going to drop behind Bile. 2200s back to Andrea Grecu. She's not going to drop that far back, but only just 54.70. Top 6 for Katy Bile. She picks off the 2 sleds in front of her. But that might be where her time in the leaders box comes to an end. So Melissa Lottholz slips a spot. Second place with 5 to go. And that will be her best World Cup result in a monobob. It's her 8th race. She started the season with 2 top 10 finishes. 10th in Altenburg, 10th in race 1, or in the race in Sigulda. And she's been hovering around between 10 and 15, 16-ish for the rest of the season. But that is her first inside the top 10, or below 10. So at least 7th, no worse than that. Congratulations to her from Adele Nicol. Katy Bile, Melissa Lottholz, Andrea Grecu, the top 3, 5 to go. So, Melissa Lottholz, Melanie Hasler. 1800s in hand over Melissa Lottholz, only 600s behind Lara Nolta in 4th place. 5.70 getaway, maintains her advantage over Lottholz, 100th quicker than her first start, over Katy Bile rather, 100th quicker than her first start. She'll be trying to chase down Lara Nolta, little skid as well as the tap 4 to 5. Expect to see that gap coming down again as she comes into the labyrinth. 2nd best speed. Managing to build her advantage a little over Katy Bile. 2nd best speed. Adele Nicol still fastest in this middle sector of the track. So she's as quick as Bile. Katy Bile was fastest at the bottom. This is going to be the lead, though, and a top 5 run for Mel Hasler. So she moves into the leader's box as Katy Bile has picked off 2. And Melanie Hasler. 2 silver medals in her monobob career. This is her 23rd race. 9th place last year, 4th place last week. No worse than 5th. Silver medalist in La Plan last December, or December 23, and silver medalist in Winterberg, December 24. So best result of this season for her has been a 2nd place. She was 4th here last week. She was 5th in Innsbruck. Four to go. Mel Hasler leads. Lauren Holter, the Youth Olympic champion on this track in 2016, is next up. And Lauren Holter looking to try and grab the points to take 2nd place in the World Cup standings. She's going to have to beat Brianna Walker, with whom she's tied. 5:72 getaway, 300 slower than her first heat. That means that her 600ths of a second advantage over Melly Hasler has now vanished totally. So she may not get a medal here. She might not even hang on to 4th place. She knows the track. She can certainly drive a bobsled. 2-time world champion. Going for the 3-peat in Lake Placid. Still tied for the lead. 2nd best speed. Right alongside Melly Hasler. Is this going to be a dead heat at the line? It might just be. This is going to be within 100th of a second. Oh, she's 100th back. A dead heat all the way down, and 100th lost somewhere in 15-16. Well, that means she will still take the bronze crystal globe at the end of the season. 3rd in the overall World Cup standings, as she was last year. She came in here tied with Brianna Walker, but Brie has had a better first heat. It is not all over till it's over. She'll come back tomorrow in there swinging in the women's bob. So, Mel Hasler leads, 3 to go, but big advantage, 2200s for Lisa Buchwitz. Lisa, our World Cup points leader, our reigning World Cup champion. Is she going to get a 2nd consecutive Crystal Globe in Monobob? The answer is she very probably is, but nothing will be taken for granted. In a down 5-6-0, and also, by the way, watched her 2 rivals who are still to come setting track records in the first heat. Now, some sleds have not gone fast in their first heat, some sleds have. But she needs to go at least 1600s quicker than her first heat to set a new track record and really put the cat among the pigeons. And Lisa Buchwitz is creeping away, but the gap's coming down now over Melly Hasler. Was 2200s in the first heat, it's only 28 now. Only 18, this is not as quick as her rival Mel Hasler. She will have the lead, and she is in the medals, but only a 10th in front, 54.51. That is not going to win her a gold. But Lisa Buchwitz will be our World Cup champion, a 2nd consecutive gold crystal globe for Lisa Buchwitz. Started 100 slower than her first heat, which will annoy her. She came in a 10th in front, having started 2200s ahead of Mel Hasler. And as we watched it, it wasn't a bad-looking drive. Long skid there, 4 to 5, not helping. It's these tiny little errors just add up and they multiply down the run because nothing happens in isolation. All right, no win today, but she's in the medals again. Now then, what about Cynthia Appiah? So Sin, 900s off the lead, 600s ahead of Lisa Buchwitz. Is this the day that Cynthia Appiah takes her first ever monobob win? It wouldn't be her first medal. She's had 2 silver and 5 bronze. Last week was her first top 6 of the season. In fact, her first result better than 10th of the season. Beg your pardon, it wasn't. It was her second. She'd had an 8th in the opener in Altenburg. But the middle of the season has been a struggle. 1200s behind Lisa Buchwitz. Is this going to be her first medal of the year? It's a 10th back to Mel Hasler. She's 1100s back. She needs to tidy it up at the bottom. She's closing. 500s back. Has she got enough to take the lead away from Lisa Buchwitz in the final corner? Yes, she does! Well, a glorious end to what has been a tough season for much of the winter for Cynthia Appiah. Her first medal of the season, and she is the leader with 1 to go. So that will be her finally. Last week she was almost as happy with 6th. Final run of the regular season for Bree Walker. Winner with Keisha Love here last week. Winner in Lake Placid last year. 900ths of a second. We saw how tight it was with Cynthia Appiah. We saw how close it was with Lisa Buchwitz, where she dropped back and somehow found speed at the bottom. 3rd fastest start of the competition, 5:68, but that means that half of her lead vanished. Now she's got to build it again. Track record in the first heat and the lead. Nice run into the labyrinth. Good lines from Bree Walker. Dad Mick will be watching at home in Australia, leaping up and down after watching her crash in the women's race last week. She's got the lead. 1400s. She's continuing to build that advantage. Is she going to be setting a new track record? Across the line, she doesn't get a new record, but she gets the gold. Gold for Brianna Walker for the 2nd week in a row, and this time it is all her own. Chiara Rodingius, her brakewoman, who'll be with her tomorrow. Their last trip in a bobsleigh last weekend ended up with a crash, and you don't have a slow crash here. But Brianna Walker set a new track record to lead in the first heat and defended that lead, nearly doubled that advantage. She takes her 3rd career win, her 2nd here in Lillehammer in the space of 7 days. So Brianna Walker, Cynthia Appiah and Lisa Buchwitz your podium, with Mel Hasler, Lauren Alter and Katy Bile rounding out the wider podium. Melissa Notholtz, a season high 7th, ahead of Andrea Grecu, Adele Nicol in 9th, and Kelly Van Pettighem, despite her disappointment at slipping a spot after her run, ends up in the top 10. Ahead of Margot Bott, Kim Kalicki, Erica Voss with Ying Ching, Sarah Blizzard, Simi Adiagbo, and at the tail of the field, Victoria Tiananska. So, Brie, 2 in 2 races here in Lillehammer. So, 3 race wins, all in tracks beginning with an L. Lake Placid, Lillehammer and Lillehammer. Lisa Buchwitz is our World Cup champion. A silver Crystal Globe goes to Brianna Walker, and the bronze Crystal Globe to Lauren Alter. Ahead of Kim Kalicki, Keisha Love slipping a spot as she was not here this weekend. Also slipping down a couple of places, Alana Myers-Taylor from 6 to 8, Kaylee Humphries from 7th to 11, Deborah Annan 8th to 12th, as Mel Hasler, Andrea Grecu and specifically Cynthia Appiah climb up the order. So too does Katy Bile, and Adele Nicol moving up from 18th to 17th as well. So lots of changes in the final weekend's reckoning. Simi Adiagbo on just 3 races in the top 24. Well, there you go, there's your podium. Brie Walker, Cynthia Appiah and Lisa Buchwitz. All right, well, get some rest before tomorrow, because you've got to do it all again. And our overall World Cup champion for the 2nd year is Lisa Buchwitz. The winner of the Crystal Globe 23-24 wins the Crystal Globe 24-25. So her career this season: silver, gold, 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 4th, 6th, 5th and bronze. And that is it for the Monobob World Cup here in Lillehammer. This afternoon we will continue our 2-man action with their final race, and we will be back at 1300 Central European, 12 GMT, 0700 Eastern for the 2-man. Until then, from the whole TV crew in Lillehammer, Martin Haven saying thank you for being with us. We'll see you in, 1 hour and 40 minutes from now. Bye-bye.